What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and I am coming back. Now, I was off a few days, was actually out of town, so I didn't get a chance to cover this episode, but holy crap, do I want to cover this episode. Okay, so episode 10 of Danmachi was wild. Just wild, okay? There's really only one thing that happened, but to get down to it, I just want to point out that any of my prior convictions about this series or about the animation quality really just went away with this episode. This episode was nuts. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Now, that's solely because of what it showed, what it did, the unexpected ending, which we'll get to here in a moment. Everything. Like, even the animation quality was stellar. If you actually go and watch the water effects, and yes, I know the water effects are CGI on, standard cell animation, I absolutely loved the fact we finally saw the water spraying over the rocks and all this stuff. Like, everything about this episode was phenomenal. 10 out of 10. Loved it. Fight me in the comments. I know that there's a lot of people out there that, are going to nitpick this for what the light novel depicted, and I get that, but you have to understand this format, for most people, is the format in which they're going to see this. They're not going to read the light novels, they're not going to know the light novels, so give the average fan their due. Don't spoil it by overanalyzing it. It was great. So, the end of the last episode, we already knew it was happening. This monster was coming out of the walls, and it descends into the lake, and all hell breaks loose. It just starts, basically before anything really kicks off, you see Marie, the little mermaid girl. She's like, what? Oh no, the sound. She's horrified. She's terrified. You start to get some back and forth between Fels and Aranos. You start to, really get the idea that what's happening here is going to be horrible. And Cassandra is losing her mind. She's like, this is it. This is the thing I was afraid of. This is a complete disaster. And then it descends. It falls into the Great Falls, no pun intended, and literally just begins cutting an absolute swath through everybody in the dungeon. Like, Cleave folk in too, who have no clue what's actually happening, just starts destroying stuff. And we get between the stuff that, I can't remember his name, but between the stuff that our antagonist tells us and the stuff that Aranos Fels tells us, and all these other interactions, we basically come to the conclusion that this creature is literally spawned as the ultimate defense mechanism from the dungeon. When there's just so much damage and so much going on, and the dungeon basically has no choice but to respond with violence. Literally, the dungeon woke up and chose violence. That's really how this went down. And boy, did this go down amazingly. So you get this, I guess, kid, for lack of a better word. I mean, he's one of the adventurers, but they're one of Boris's group, and they're randomly, they're the ones that broke off. And he is splattered in the face, and as he's trying to open his eyes through all the blood, he sees half of a body just fly through the air. And then that is the beginning of it. Then folks just start getting cleaved into left and right. And it is a bloodbath. It is an absolute, literal bloodbath. Folks are just covered head to toe. There are no survivors. Even that kid, they show you, this kid's probably Belle's age. And he is impaled and just tossed out like the trash. It was horrific, and it was awesome. And it really goes to show you the brutality of this defense mechanism. Juggernaut is really what they call the monster. And Boris is like, cool, we gotta go. And whole crew's like, oh, okay, I guess we out. And of course you get to Belle, and you get to Ryu, and dude that's been antagonizing Ryu this whole time is just this is it. This is my moment. This is what I've been waiting for. Check this out. I'm going to tame it. And he has that, like, magical item, which in theory, I guess, maybe could? I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't imagine that this is a monster that he's going to be able to tame. I really don't see that happening. Could be wrong, but I just don't see it happening. But let's get down to it. The moment, and I'm not going to waste time. I'm just going to get right to it. Bell jumps. He is like, I am done. This thing's going down. He starts analyzing the monster. He's like, this thing's got, poor defenses. It is fast. It's maybe even faster than those birds he fought before. Like, this thing is a beast. But he surmises he can beat it. So he starts lunging at it. He starts basically like, yes, it's fast, but it has poor defenses. What can I do here? Unleashes a firebolt and is literally blown back. Finds out that this thing completely nullifies magic attacks. Magic attacks have absolutely no effect on the monster. So Bell is blown back, and he staggers to his feet. The big sword that he commandeered, that is just literally shattered. And this is the moment where you start to realize he's level 4. High-end level 4, but a level 4. Is he really going to be able to handle this situation? And it is literally about that moment. That, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the episode, now is the time to stop the video and go watch it, because holy shit. His arm is taken straight off, and what you see behind me is literally his own blood splattering all over his face, and as the viewer, you're watching going, that's bad. That's not supposed to happen. He's the protag. This is not good. This is not good. And lo and behold, he is then, after getting his arm cut off and going into this state of shock, is literally smacked out of the way. Now, we already saw a dude smacked by the monster's tail, snap the dude's neck, the corpse landed in front of him. And literally the same thing happens to Bell. His head isn't spun around backwards, but he is definitely dead. He is absolutely knocked through the air. His eyes lose their luster. His pupils are gone. He is a flying body. And you actually begin to see right at the end of the episode where his vision is starting to blur out. He is absolutely, and it all happens pretty much in slow motion. He is absolutely phasing out of existence. It is pretty much a done deal for him. Now, we know, just based on the series and him being the protag, something's going to happen. Something is absolutely going to have to, come in and rectify the situation. But Ryu is taken aback, and she is in shock, and she is just awestruck by this whole thing. Remember, this thing murdered the entire Estrella Familia. And they talk about that in the episode, the entire Estrella Familia is wiped the hell out by Juggernaut. So, Bell trying his best to stand by himself, is it really going to be of that much effect? So, this is a wild moment. This is crazy. And I was absolutely floored. I haven't read this far in the light novels, and I'm glad I haven't, because I wanted this to be a complete shock when we got to the end. Well, I'm glad this was a complete shock getting into the anime, because I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next. Now, yes, I do want to read the light novels. Yes, I do want to catch up, but I actually want to get the episode organically, so I'm going to slow down my reading, and I'm going to wait for the episode to air, and then after next week's episode airs, we'll talk about all that. But, so I, for one, cannot wait to see what's going to happen in the next episode. I know it's going to be wild. I know it's going to be exciting. It's not the end of the season, per se. I believe, unless I'm mistaken, there's a part 2 that's going to be announced. But this is nuts. Absolutely nuts. And I cannot wait to see how they're, because once again, like I said, death's not permanent for a protag like this. But I cannot wait to see how this is going to happen, how this is going to go down. I'm slowing my light novel reading. I'm not going to read ahead. I really want to get this organically. and I'm super excited. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. We'll talk about the light novels after this is done, but for now, I am super stoked. 10 out of 10. Super excited. I'll probably go back and modify that. It'll probably be like an 8 when I'm done, getting over the hype train. But I just watched the episode. I'm super excited. Cannot wait for episode 11. See you guys on Thursday for episode 11. Like, comment, share. I'll talk to you guys soon.